Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Flatzoid, Neil, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Also just been joined by Chocolate Saying and Arwin as well. So hello to both of you as well.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh,
Hello.
guys, doing a tag team?
Yeah, they both joined at exactly the same time. You do a bit of housekeeping? Anything pressing that needs to be addressed before? I know we've had a fairly lively pre-show.
No, I think we filled our bucket list with Neil.
Okay. Obviously, that was brought to exhaustion before the live show started, which is fine. Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
Where's 10th?
Oh, I just love the silence here because I just love the silence here. I'm waiting for someone in Discord to pipe up.
Didn't Rumpus find it the other day?
No, quote, Rumpus, the geometric horizon only exists in the maths, end quote.
Right, so he found it in the math.
Yeah, it's asserted that we've got a physical Earth curve edge for our horizon, Arwin.
So is there some way to get to this realm of math in order to find that proof?
No. Math is
Wait,
abstract.
how does a boat disappear behind mass?
Well, you
Is that
calculated
the
to.
really is level?
You calculated to.
Ah. So that
Yep.
doesn't make it real then, does it?
Yeah, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Isle of Man. We've done that.
So when do they decide it's refraction or physical?
It doesn't work like that. If the horizon is refracted, then it's not geometric. Now that is a logical consistency that they cannot get around. Therefore, we get the rebuttals. One of them I've just quoted from Rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. Well, that's exactly as declared. What is the geometric horizon? That's Earth curve. So loosely translated, Earth curve only exists in the maths. Or someone like AB Science. We wouldn't expect to see geometry. Meanwhile, geometry is asserted to block the bottoms of boats and buildings. But because of the logical consistency the Black Swan offers, their only response is to tell us that it's refracted. The light to the horizon is bent. Well, your geometry requires the light to the horizon to be a tangent line that's straight, because your horizon is a tangent point that you're asserting blocks things. So telling us that we don't see geometry isn't going to cut it. In fact, it buries the model. The globe Earth is dead. Black Swan killed it. 1st Jan 2020. Here lies globe Earth. It lies under the geometric horizon that they told the believers the argument starts with. Your argument on the globe side starts with a horizon that is claimed to be physical. It's called Earth curve. Upon receipt of the Black Swan, we're being told, we don't see Earth curve. That's their rebuttal. That's the globe Earth's rebuttal to this argument. We don't see Earth curve. And we go, yeah, welcome to Flat Earth. The horizon's not a geometric physical sphere edge. It never blocked things with a feet and inches value that excluded perspective. It's all nonsense. We've debunked it as physical. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Star rotations, the Southern Cross. How do you explain that on the model?
Were you in the chat yesterday, Owen? Is that why you brought that up? Were you modding the Nathan Oakley premiering stream chat when that came up from somebody very courteous who actually asked that question almost in the same words?
Oh, really? No, it's a standardized thing now. So I literally didn't even read that off of some. I'm literally trolling as they would.
That's fine. Pete Shea was in the. It was actually, I know who it was now. It wasn't you. It was Pete Shea, and he gave some nonsense response about a reflection of Aristarchus or some complete bollocks. Anyway, I thought I can't leave it at that because the person thanked him. Oh, thank you for the response. That's very useful. I was like, my God, don't listen to Pete. What are you talking about? First, you've got to assume you're on a sphere. Then you have to assume that when travelling to the south to make this observation, that you're antipodal from where you began. Well, that's your assumption of the thing you're trying to prove. Are you trying to prove you're on a sphere, but you start your example by saying, if I'm on a sphere, and when I travel towards the horizon out in that direction, my destination is below my feet? Well, that's an assumption. Then they affirm the consequent, if P then Q, Q therefore P, which is if Earth's a sphere, I'll observe stars doing blah, 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 blah in the north and south hemisphere. Stars do blah, 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 blah in the north and south hemisphere, therefore Earth's a sphere. So they just affirm the consequent with a begging the question fallacy and make you assume that you're on a sphere before the example even takes place.
If you listen to Pete, you're a dodo.
Any evidence of the
You
distance of
don't-
the sun?
You don't Shay.
You don't Shay. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
Any
Pete
evidence?
is dodo bird.
Any evidence of the distance of the sun?
Nope, I don't know where it is. It's not over there right now, or at
If
least
it
I can't
keeps-
see it.
Hold
If it
on. In
keeps-
school,
If you can't see the sun, does it still exist?
I was
Yeah.
told in school 93 million miles away. I learned it in school. Come on, guys.
No,
If
that's based on
something
our.
keeps if something
based on
keeps
art.
moving away, how are you gonna pinpoint its location?
Sorry, it just had a distance. The only person that was brave enough to give one was Neil. What did you say, Neil?
I learned it in school. 93 million miles away.
That's based on the assumption Earth is a sphere with a radius value derived from a physical geometric sphere edge, horizon formerly known as Earth curve, now debunked. That R value is then transposed onto Venus, and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion is applied so that they can get all the scaling values and distances. That gives you your 93 million mile sun, an assumption that Venus... Ever wondered why it's called Earth's twin? Yeah, that's because... Who was it? Christian Huygens just decided that that light in the sky was a sphere the same size as a presupposed spherical Earth with an R value that's now debunked. That's why Venus is called Earth's twin, to give you the scaling values and the 93 million mile distance.
Prove to me Venus is not Earth size, okay?
The
I'm
dot,
the baller now.
the dot in the sky that Christian Huygens says is the sphere shaped the same size as Earth. Why? Well, because I say so. And now we can apply scaling values. That's all they do. Assume Earth's a sphere, assume Venus is a sphere the same size, and then apply all of Kepler's third law to get them the distances. That's all they do.
Okay, I'll
Well,
repeat my question. Can
okay.
you prove
No,
Venus
no.
is not the same size as Earth?
It's not our claim. So if the sun was 93 million miles away, light would come in a parallel, not even rays, but one beam. And yet we have crepuscular rays
Indeed.
diverging.
Their scaling value gives them parallel light, and they even assert it when they also assume Earth's a sphere and then put light down wells to give them values for a claimed... what are they using for that? I forget now. It's not radius. It's circumference of a presupposed spherical Earth.
So Nathan, this is a perfect time for that clip, that video John D sent me this morning. I'm going to put it in Master B now. It deals with the sun. It's at the 317 mark to 341. It's listed in Master B, but turn down the sound because he's got music. But what a gorgeous, gorgeous crepuscular situation this guy showed.
At 3 minutes 17.
Yeah, and it goes to 3:42.
Okay,
I
it's
think,
playing.
or whatever
I'll
I
make
said.
it nice and big.
You see it?
Yeah, it's on screen now for the audience.
Yeah. All right. So you can see this, right? He's got a time lapse and it's moving away from you. And the crepuscular rays are moving. Guess what's in the middle? The highest altitude of the sun, where the zenith position, the GP is. And it's moving away with you. Where's the beam? Where's the parallel? The sun is moving. Not 93 million miles away.
Now it just seems like that because of perspective. It seems like it's not parallel. How about that
No.
argument?
No, go to the beginning of the video and he proves that, but it's there in the masterpiece for you, Arwen. He used window blinds to prove that one wrong. Beautiful
What?
photography.
Epic.
And the clouds in front of you don't have it. Meaning it's a local sun, not 93 million miles away. We don't know how far away it is, but it's moving away with you. And then the clouds in front of you no longer have those rays.
Okay, but hasn't it already been established because of terrestrial refraction that light can't really go in straight lines anyway? So it's only logical that it would always seem like it's diverging.
Well, then how do you get a zenith position when it's directly overhead at 90 degrees?
Boom. There, Arwen deals with that one.
Because it starts parallel and then eventually diverges.
What a
Because
load
of
of
terrestrial,
nonsense.
or in this case, celestial refraction.
What a load of nonsense.
Oh, really? Can you disprove it?
Oh, don't reverse the burden of proof and put the onus on me to disprove your non-claim that hasn't been proven and isn't sensical, because you can't be both divergent and convergent and parallel all at the same time, which is what you need for this example to work, Arwen.
I damn well will.
Still haven't proved Venus is not the same size as Earth, as far as I'm concerned.
It's just an assumption. Christian Huygens just
Team Neil
assumed
gets
it.
it.
He just assumed it. And
Yes.
based that assumption on a spherical Earth that hasn't been measured and can't be measured because the horizon's not physical.
Why are we fighting over ratio systems as real?
Over ratios of what?
Just based on ratios. So nothing really. It's just mathematical.
Yeah, we're talking about abstract maths and assumptions about lights in the sky. It's absurd, really. But there we go. The entire Western world's basis of their world that's beneath their feet is based on this garbage.
Can I give a shout out for that video channel that John D referenced?
Sure. What was the name? I'll just get a
Sunday Morning Productions.
Sunday Morning Productions. I'll throw him a subscription and I'll share his video. If you're a member, in fact, you can still see this if you're not a member, but I'll stick a link to it in the chat right now. So go and check him out. Or her out. Is it a her or a he?
He.
Check him out. That video is called Crepuscular Rays and the channel name is Sunday Morning Productions. Link is in the live stream chat right now. Groovy. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Wait just a minute.
I still can't understand how people can be stuck on mass attracts mass when it's far outdated.
That was a
Oh, I'm
on-
sorry. That was gravitas. I was thinking of
Because
weight.
they're free to think of it whatever they will.
Wait
They're
just a
free
minute.
to
Is-
think of
but
gravity
Cavendish-
whatever they will, because nobody's ever claimed the hypothesis.
I just got to
But
get this in
Owen,
because
Cavendish.
that pun was next level pun, right? Wait a minute, yeah, is a pun on multiple levels. Obviously, the surface level pun that we all laughed at, but also it's a useful way of integrating both Newtonian and Einsteinian in the same pun, right? Wait, and then minute, time. Genius. Sorry, I just had to give props there. I don't know if you realised the multiple levels that pun worked on, but ace.
Thank you. Thank you. I have some gravitas finally.
Got punning.
Etymological fallacy.
If you say so, Arwen. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, if you just... Oh, so you want to go?
what would a hypothesis need to contain to be considered a scientific hypothesis?
Quite a few things. There's the fundamental independent variable, dependent variable, control variables, but you'd also need a null. So your independent variable, presume cause, so we'll call that A. Your dependent variable, that's your effect that you observed in nature, we'll call that B. And then your alternative hypothesis, if A, then B. But you also have to have the mirror of that, which is if A, not B. So I vary my presumed cause and it does not cause the effect, if A, not B. That's the null hypothesis. So you have to have the both. Obviously, control variables, things which you will keep constant and not affect the test. That's it. That's what you need for a hypothesis. Otherwise known as a scientific prediction.
And then you would need it to experiment and validate this hypothesis.
Yeah, after the fact, that's called the actualization of the hypothesis. Varying your presumed cause and seeing if it causes the effect or not.
But come on, Nathan, we all know that science, especially astrophysics, has moved beyond the old-fashioned scientific method. It's been liberated, you know. You can apply science much easier now than that old, rigid way, you know. Everybody gets it now. Everybody can do science. You don't really have to prove the cause of an effect. You just have to make an observation, make a story about it, and then everybody has to agree on that. And then you have science.
Your Chocolate's got a few quotes. Hold on, Flatside. I'm sure Chocolate could rattle off just a few appropriate quotes here. Maybe, if he's about. Maybe he's busy. If not, Flatside, go ahead. Give him a couple of seconds.
I'm saying, well,
Hold on.
Some quotes. What we need?
Yeah, Arwin's saying for science, you just need a story, right? You know, we've evolved beyond that in astrophysics. So I just thought maybe you'd have a quote to go along with that little statement from Arwin.
Oh, you mean that nobody in my field uses the scientific method? It's leaps of logic. It's seat of the pants. It's guesswork. Michio Kaku.
Bit like that, Arwin. Thank you, Chocolate. Perfect.
Yeah.
Can I just add something?
That's unfortunately the side effect of going there. Yeah, it's a lot of wild guesswork going on. But that's okay, because eventually people will agree on which wild guess are the most reliable.
Perfect. Whoever was in Discord, yes, you can, but Flatsword's got something to add, and then whoever it was, pipe up after Flatsword. Go ahead, Flatsword.
No, it's fine. I lost my train of thought.
Whoever it was in Discord, go ahead. Sorry, Flatsword, my bad.
Right, I've been testing my hypothesis all morning, and it confirms time and time again. Water confirms to which container, and it keeps level. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
That's a statement of fact more than an observed phenomena. When a phenomena is something occurring, so you could say the phenomena is water finds and maintains level. That could be conceivably took as an observed phenomena.
But it's not natural, he put it there.
Water finding its level is not natural. All those unnatural puddles I see.
George put it in there, so it's not natural then.
It's natural. Water finds and maintains its level.
If a man puts it there, sure. George did it, not
Right.
nature.
So you don't experience rain where you are.
That's not what George talked about, though. So
Water finding and maintaining level.
I'm talking
Are you
about
talking
water,
about rain.
water
George?
conforming to its container.
Right. But you didn't talk about rain, right?
Water.
Oh, rain is not
I'm
water.
talking water in it. Yeah, water in
We
general.
move on. This is a garbage objection.
Does
I could
water ever?
Nath, I think it seems like a misunderstanding that the ballers have, where your phenomena needs to be natural, but they seem to then misinterpret that as if when you then design the experiment, you can't use stuff. You can only use natural stuff in the experiment. We're allowed to then replicate and test with man-made stuff within the experiment, that doesn't. The phenomena itself needs to be seen in nature,
Right.
not made in the experiment. Is the only time you see the phenomena.
Exactly. You
It
can't
doesn't
conjure.
preclude you.
You can't conjure the phenomena in the apparatus itself, because then it's not a naturally occurring phenomena. But once you've got a naturally occurring phenomena, you can have apparatus to test the cause of the effect. But on their side of the argument, they'll have a machine produce a phenomena, and then they'll say it's being science when they assert a just so story is the cause. Whereas for us, we need apparatus to grow out of the ground for us to do experiments, right?
Yeah, you
I
see
have
the
got a
problem-
test tube tree.
Yeah, you see, the problem is they first, how can I put it? They first do the experiment, that they call it, and then they do write the hypothesis to the experiment to fit it. So it's just, yeah, making a story for what they sort of observe.
Correct. They use the hypothesis as a story in the explanation when the hypothesis is a supposition prior to it actually being confirmed. So a supposition yet to be confirmed would be the hypothesis. They use the hypothesis at the end as a just so story. Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
All right. So, what would be the phenomenon in order to attempt to try and prove it?
There isn't
about
one.
it?
There isn't one. Glad you didn't just launch into volcanoes this time. No, there isn't one, Arwin.
But anything? Is there nothing that's even presupposed to be?
Oh, yes,
connected to it?
absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. Indeed. A long time ago, in a galaxy not so far away, only existent in mathematics, there was a fledgling planet called Earth. And this planet was considerably smaller than the presupposed spherical Earth that is asserted to be beneath our feet in the Western world. Now, this fledgling planet, as it traversed its orbit, presupposed to be around the sun that we see going over our head, didn't know it was on a collision course, not that rocks can know things, with another planet, also presupposed to be in an orbit around the sun, called Theia. Now, just by chance, when these two planets collided, by fortunate coincidence, it only hit at a glancing blow, depositing its molten iron core into the fledgling globe Earth. Now, the debris was spread all over the place, but coalesced into what we now call the moon, and left Earth with an oversized molten iron core. And that is the story of Theia, true because they made it up themselves. There you go, Arwin. Hope that answers your question.
That is super cool. So that's something supposedly happened in the past. So exactly what is the phenomenon that proves it?
There wasn't one. It was
How
just
do
a
we know
story.
that happened?
No
How-
phenomena, just
there
that
wasn't
story
a
I just gave you.
That
did-
actually happened.
Don't turn it into a phenomena. You said isn't there something presupposed, and I've given it you. That doesn't turn it into a phenomena suddenly. So don't try and juxtapose my just so story you requested that the heliocentric model gives for Earth and the Moon and the oversized molten iron core. That's just their just so story. There is still no phenomena.
That sounds very close to what Chocolate was saying the other day with Neil deGrasse Tyson and how they found that magical speed of things hitting the moon and causing perfect craters.
Cool.
The Nathan,
But to be
the phenomena is your oversized moon because it is oversized in the. It can't be that size in the heliocentric model, so that's why you then need your just so story because you're in their mind the phenomena is a moon that's oversized and a molten iron core that's too big.
Sorry,
Shouldn't be
neither. Number one, you can't attribute that description to a light in the sky. You can't say it's too big or too small. That's absurd. Number two, that's not a phenomena. Just saying the moon is, by my estimation, too big or too small. That's not enough. That's not a phenomena. What are you on about?
I think it's the point I'm making is that's what they class it as. It shouldn't be that big due to gravitational reasons. Therefore, it's a phenomenon we can investigate, maths the shit out of, and come up with a reason as to why.
No.
And
Yeah.
your story.
There's no explanation required. It's not like I look down at my crotch and go, my penis is too big. It's a phenomena. I need explanation.
It's a phenomena.
Wow.
Wow, I don't know what to say. I was going to say Adam's right, because you hear everywhere once in a blue moon.
Boom, boom.
No, the phenomena is only generated out of the premise that you live in a heliocentric world. If you live in a heliocentric world that follows this gravitational law, then for some reason there's this strange thing that's in the sky that's too big for what my beliefs should be.
What's a blue moon?
Sufficient to investigate, and then that's classed sufficient for investigation.
Test 10th man's knowledge of what he just said. What's a blue moon?
It's a very nice beer here in the States.
No. In terms of what the moon does, once in a blue moon makes it sound like an event. It is. I know what the event is. I'm just seeing if you do.
Educate us, Nathan. I never made a claim.
Excellent.
I know what it is.
I will. So it's a byproduct of them inserting an extra month into the moon cycle. Sorry, subtracting a month from the moon cycle. So you end up with a period where you have 2 full moons in one calendar month. That's called a blue moon.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
But it's just a byproduct of an arbitrary calendar structure that's been put around something that has then had the name altered subtly. A month. Right?
It's also a song. Blue moon.
It is indeed. But we've got this cycle that's a very useful cycle that could track periods of time quite nicely. But instead we've got this Gregorian calendar that makes no sense. And when it makes no sense, they have these things addressed with titles like they're anomalies. Well, there's been 2 in 1 month. What are we talking about? A month is, to me, is the cycle of the moon, not this arbitrary numbering system that's been placed on top of it. That's the anomaly, not the moon. That's what they do, right? Like you saying
Why
it's
did
too
they
big.
do that anyway?
Too big? What do you mean it's too big? What do you mean the clock's not supposed to be seen? What do you mean? I just see it. Too big? There's the moon, I see it. What do you mean it's too big? Well, based on my belief that we're in a heliocentric model, blah, 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 too big. There's a lot of things that we say shouldn't be the way they just are because of our misapprehensions about heliocentric models.
Well, why did they change it anyway to Gregorian? What was the purpose?
Well, that's if you knew that. Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, I know what it
Well, no, that's
achieves.
the whole purpose of doing it. It's to hide history. It's to hide calendars, isn't it? It's purported to be due to the ego of certain nobility, isn't it? But
August,
that's the nonsense explanation. So.
Wasn't that fight the tight shirt? You don't know?
I know what you're
No,
talking
that
about,
was
but
just
yeah.
Phil.
It achieves a disconnect. Nobody's paying attention to it anymore. It doesn't govern the cycles of their months or moonths. No longer is it something that you structure your calendar around because your calendar is that calendar, as opposed to you paying attention to what the luminaries are actually doing to give you a natural cycle. So you don't have a natural cycle as a result. That's the direct consequence of that.
Yeah.
So they
should be-
hijacked that as well.
That
Yes.
should be 13 months. Because
There will always be one answer for Neil. There will always be control, Neil. It's always going to be the same answer in this regard. They can maintain a level of control over these things when they take control of them. Well, they're not in control of the moon cycles, but they can be in control of an arbitrary calendar structure that they place on top of it. So it's about control, like bloody everything.
Damn Sidious.
Men want to control the moon and everything that goes around in the natural world, and we don't have control over it. So we impose arbitrary structures and models on top of those naturally occurring events. It's our pathetic attempt to control things. Men's pathetic attempt to control things.
Yeah, like now March 14th.
It's the patriarchy. The
March
Gregorian
14th,
calendar is patriarchy.
March 14th, they're going to kick the clocks ahead, and I lose an hour of sleep. Who started that nonsense?
Again, it disconnects you. That time change disconnects you from the seasonal changes that are occurring quite swiftly, and they certainly shouldn't be occurring in the manner that they do at the equinox. You just shouldn't have such a swift change. Now, most people don't notice the swift change. I note it every year when spring comes, and you walk outside, it's beautiful weather, or mild, just normal, like today. I'm out in a t-shirt because it's not cold. It's just normal, right? Well, it's because spring's arrived. But you walk out and see people in duffel coats and scarves. Why? Well, because they're under the apprehension, based on their calendar and structure of the seasons, that they're told with a numbering system. Well, now it's spring, now it's winter, now it's summer. You know, like, now it's New Year, the one that bugs me the most.
You know, New Year used to be April 1st. That's why you got April Fools. I think I told you this before.
Indeed you did.
Yeah, that's spring. That's
The one I love is that in January we're 3 million miles closer to the sun. Yeah. I love that one.
And I'm freezing.
When there's 7 feet of snow outside my house, that's when I'm 3 million miles closer to the sun. Sure.
Cold.
Just all that sun is reflecting off it.
I can't wait for the sun to be far away.
It's the tilt, man. The tilt, man.
Did we all just hear Arwin's last comment? Because that's why I thought Pete Shea was Arwin. Because Arwin and Pete Shea do have some parallels sometimes. You want to repeat your last statement?
Well, Arwen told him get his stuff together, and he never did. He never got it all together and presented it. He's all over the place, Pete.
Yeah. So he had some really interesting origin stories, but he just never really built on them. Like
Exactly.
he's got this fairy tale that he's just never written.
For Pete's sake, can we move on?
He's like the incompetent inspector, right? He keeps going on and on about his clues, but he's like the inspector that's gathering up all the clues but hasn't actually drawn a conclusion.
It's like, Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Clouseau.
Clouseau figured things out.
Yeah, finally he did. But he blocked me, Pete Shea. I don't even get him in the chat. I see nothing by him. He blocked me.
Okie dokie. Enough about Pete Shea. Shout out to Pete Shea. He's a good guy. You know, he's harmless enough. Anyway.
And he's been around forever. He was there in the beginning. Remember?
He was there, man. He was there.
No, he came in with the first wave. Been doing his thing since the start.
Yeah, and all the first waivers claim everybody else is a shill or a paid agent.
Yeah, I'm still waiting
so
for him
he-
to expose me as an agent of some sort. Because, I'm still waiting for that.
My favourite, while we're on the subject, my favourite comment is when he starts claiming everyone's actors. It's like, yeah, that's what I trained as. That's what I did at college. So first comment from me is pointing at my name, arrow in the chat box. Trained actor, because I am. Does it mean anything? Yeah. No.
I always wanted to be an actor.
No,
Well,
you didn't.
Until I figured out what it's like.
If you're not a sincere flat earther, then you are the greatest actor in the world, buddy.
Anyway, any evidence the R value, Earth radius?
Radius. Black Swan.
Black Swan's an anomaly.
Wait, you mean spherical radius? Or just radius?
He means
Just the word radius.
No, good question. Spherical.
The circle has a radius too.
Spherical, Arwin.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, can't help you with that.
Yeah, there would be an arc or a curvature on the surface if there was a radius.
For a spherical radius, we would need a sphere.
So a guy got told off a couple of days ago? I think it was a couple of days ago. Because he didn't understand the Black Swan. So he came in to challenge it, and his challenge was preposterous because not only did it imply that he didn't understand the Black Swan argument that we make, it also implied that he didn't understand the Karl Popper analogy until it was broken down by chocolate, which made me laugh, I've got to be a bit honest. But, he was asserting, well, you've only got one picture. Now, the Karl Popper analogy is, if you assert all swans are white, you only need one black swan to disprove that assertion. So your belief that all swans are white is disproven by showing a black swan. Well, in this instance, the assertion is we have a geometric horizon. Earth curve. Well, if the horizon is beyond its geometric capabilities, it's not geometric. Therefore, we don't have Earth curve. If we don't have Earth curve, I don't know how much more simple I can make it. We don't have Earth curve. So Earth's flat. Not a sphere, not curved, no Earth curve, horizon not physical. Your arguments on the globe start with the horizon being physical, blocking things. Boats going over it. How ironic that it's in the Flat Earth Society controlled narrative that we've got boats falling off the edge of a pizza, when your maths literally asserts that boats fall over a physical geometric sphere edge called Earth curve. And we've destroyed it. It's dead. Black Swan killed it, 1st Jan 2020. Now, because it's been a year, my tolerance level for Muppets that come here and think they've got the high ground and can talk down to us because obviously we're just flat earthers, that ends. No more will we take that kind of nonsense from idiots that don't even understand the argument. It's a year old now, so don't expect some pity and mercy if you don't understand the argument. The conclusion that the guy didn't understand is the Earth is not a sphere.
Correct. And what didn't he come in and say there's no proof on either side? That started the whole thing?
Going to be neutral. Come in and
Yeah, he
paint
said there's
neutral
no
and then
proof
miss
either
the
way.
analogy.
Right. So he's intellectually neutral, perhaps.
Whatever.
Contraire. We have a lot of proof.
Well, do a plug for that because it goes out on this channel. So it goes out, if you're watching live, that is, on Nathan Oakley 1988 at 9:15 UK time tonight, just before the Uncut and After show, the more recent one, the newer one, comes out just afterwards on the second channel. So subscribe today if you're not already to Nathan Oakley channel and check out the, I can't remember what I labelled it now, I think it's called Have Respect, Earth is Flat. And that goes out 9:15 just before the newest Uncut and After show on the second channel. So be here or be sphere on Nathan Oakley 1980 for Have Respect, Earth is Flat at 9:45 tonight.
It is frustrating, though, because I want you to give the answer, but I understand what you're doing. And I'm like, my stomach's in a knot.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I can't train you to be a particular way. You know, I get it. You know, it's the adrenaline starts pumping through you and you want to, it's hard to control that. I know I've mentioned a couple of times that I watched the behaviour panel. Well, they were showing some body cam footage of a load of detectives around a murderer. And while they're listening to him and leaving massive pauses, one of the detectives who's on the body cam also is subtly turning himself away from the suspect and covering his mouth to stop himself from interjecting and leaving the silences, letting the guy hang himself, basically, leaving him enough rope.
Oh. Wow.
So,
really?
when you guys are really keen to fill the gap, I get it. Because you feel the tension that the opponent's feeling and you want to labour the point. Or in this case, you want to make the argument have a conclusion. You want me to say, well, distance to horizon beyond 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, therefore the horizon is not geometric and is not Earth curve, as asserted in the maths. The Earth is not a sphere. Earth is obviously and observably flat. You want me to conclude it and then move on with the debate. But the guy's waiting for me to actually give the conclusion so he can challenge it on the spot, while feigning that he wants to be, quote, enlightened. It's like, let's get clear what's happening here. Somebody doesn't understand the argument, and therefore the flat earther has to enlighten them. Well, that's okay. That's fine. That happens all the time. It's a debate, right? But you're going to have to offer some respect to your opponent when that happens, for them to enlighten you. And that's what's happening now. We as flat earthers are enlightening you. I'm pointing at the people who believe in the sphere. We will be the ones enlightening you moving forward, not the other way around. So there's going to be no, well, I'll assume I can look down my nose at these clown flat earthers and talk to them in that manner. That's going to stop. We will be enlightening you based on your ignorance, most of the time on your own model. We know far more about it than you do, your heliocentric belief, based in very little actual understanding of what that is. A reification fallacy of a mathematical model. Sorry, whoever that was, trying to get a word in.
In the
Authorita.
Yeah, well, in the mafia, it's called getting in line. Like when a new regime takes over, you got to straighten the other guys out. And you say, did he get in line? So are these ballers getting in line? Because there's a new sheriff in town.
Well, they're getting in lying, unfortunately.
Yo, Vinny, go sort them out.
Nobody
Or
wants to
sorted
be.
out. Yeah, that's a good one too, Flat. So did he get sorted out? They
It
get sorted out quick.
works to our advantage because nobody wants to be told off, demeaned, belittled, and humiliated by a flat earther. Oh, that must be a fate worse than death. Good. That very much works to our advantage now, doesn't it? So I'll leverage that advantage at every opportunity. Now, because I'm a flat earther, I've got to be very careful that I am absolutely right when I do it. Can't sit on that pedestal if I've got something wrong. Now, the Globers, they've got consensus behind them. They come here with complete nonsense. They can get away with contradicting themselves left, right, and centre, and the people around them will congratulate them. Me, I make one minor spelling error, and flies on me like I'm a pile of dung.
Yeah, but all my arguments.
They'll
fall
carve a
flat.
statue for your mistake. They can.
Thanks, Arwen.
Go on, 10th.
I said all my arguments fall flat. I can't help it.
Boom, boom.
See, Owen knows when you're coming with a pun. So that's
Yeah.
when he jumps in front of you. He's got your time, 10.
Well, I shoot it straight. That's why all my arguments fall flat.
Because of gravity? Yeah.
We've covered
No,
that.
we went through that one already.
Yeah. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
My
Yes,
favorite of all.
pictures taken from a vacuum of Earth being a ball. That's
Yeah.
proof.
I released that as well. Earth closed. Men can't go to the moon. So Earth is fundamentally, and to all intents and purposes, to all practical purposes, all the other Weasley words, closed. Why? Well, because we wouldn't be breathing. But that's their side. That's Rumpus from the Globe side telling us, for all practical purposes, Earth is closed. Well, practical purposes, that would be going to the moon then, so closed. Oh no, for the purposes of taking a picture of it closed, it's open. That was his argument.
Well,
Well, that's still my
I
favorite.
think-
'Cause-
I-
Go ahead.
I think he meant for practical purposes when actually trying to calculate it. As in, it's more practical when you approach the situation more as a real thing when you calculate it, because then the calculations might actually work out. But in reality, though, it's not like that. I think that he actually meant it like that, which is
Nah, it's
very
doublespeak.
mental gymnastics.
Well,
Well,
speaking
you
of
know that
math,
there's ballers. You know, there's ballers that will tell you that you can calculate the Earth as an isolated system too. I've actually heard it from their lips.
well, isn't it weird we can actually do science to actually prove you need containment for gas pressure?
Hold on, that's just Penny's just twigged what Paul's just said. Let me get it straight. So, how does the sun heat anything up, Paul?
If you're calculating as an isolated system, I don't know how. How does the sun heat the Earth if it's calculated as an isolated system? I don't know. I've yet to figure that out. They haven't
Are
told
they
me that
proving
yet.
to us that math is
Reality.
abstract? Because I don't know. It's not supposed to be an isolated system, but being the fact that you can just calculate it as an isolated system, what does that mean? Does that
No,
mean
the
it is?
universe-
Or we could
the
just
u-
think of it as an isolated system?
This is trench level
No, the
nonsense, isn't it? Hold on, Paul. It's just some idiot that doesn't understand what he means when he says isolated. Correct? This isn't actual rhetoric. This is trench level moron rhetoric.
That's what
No, they've actually said it. You can calculate the Earth in any way you want, depending on what you want to do.
Oh,
So
okay.
really-
Yeah. No, I take it all back. Yeah, of course you can, because it's just a model. You can calculate it as a cabbage if you want. Any way you like.
See, that's why this is my favorite argument. I respect the Black Swan, but to me, gas pressure without a container is so obvious. We would not be alive today if the Earth is a sphere and we're next to a vacuum of space. To me,
Well,
it's still my all-time favorite.
if
I don't-
Earth's going to be a cabbage, then they should let us alone.
We
Boom,
might
boom.
just stink the situation up. Well, anyway, I did an actual hypothesis validating my hypothesis that gas requires a container for gas pressure to exist.
Well, do tell.
Otherwise, it won't happen. I actually have a video up. The ballers don't like it much, but it is there. I do have it up. I put in Master B.
Yeah, that's a phenomena. Gas pressure, and the cause, the walls of the container.
Yeah, as soon as you open the container, that gas releases to the surrounding systems. So entropy increase. So it validates the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, but Rumpus says at the molecular level, it's got springs.
It tends to move about.
It wanders
No,
off.
it's going
Runs
up while
around.
it's going down.
It's accelerating down while moving up.
Oh God, please no. So Godzilla from the super chat says, "Did someone say cabbage?" I completely forgot that cabbage was a reference to cash. So last time there was a load of. Well, not that I'm going to complain if loads of super chats come in, but you know what I mean. If they're all referencing cabbages, I might.
I thought it was cheddar.
It's cabbage and cheddar, and your panel just became Cabbage Patch Kids. So bring in those super chats.
Master Super Chat.
Yeah, it's Master Super Chat, but preferably on topic. Although I think we've run out of housekeeping questions now. Was that the last one? I believe so.
Yeah, but that was the one that got me, and the one that, what was it? Affirmative consequence and formological fallacy. When you broke that down, and then that gas pressure out of container, I was like, wow.
I assume you mean for the star rotation when you say the
Yes.
affirmative consequent, because that's the most commonly used one.
Yes, when you broke that down and then gas pressure out of container, I was like, I mean, what else do you need?
That's why I love gas law so much, because then they have to concede about volume.
Yeah, we've got natural laws with V's in them, correct?
That's why I'm pushing these days. I don't want to say atmospheric. I rather say atmopressure. So when they come and say atmospheric, I say there's no such thing as atmospheric, only atmopressure.
Why did you say air pressure?
And technically, in the heliocentric model, this volume is increasing every day, every moment, every year. It's increasing.
When Orwin said earlier about practical purposes, Nathan, I think in relation to Rumpus, when he's saying that, what he means is practical purposes for the V value that he claims the atmosphere occupies, as opposed to the very impractical V value of which the gas has the opportunity to expand into.
Yes, that's correct. No offence to Owen, but yes, Adam's got it correct in terms of where he's going with that. And absolutely, I'm well aware of that. He's got to arbitrarily assign a value to that V. And their V is going to come from the Kármán line now, isn't it, Adam?
They'd like it to, yes. That would be their boundary limit, wouldn't it? That they would then calculate the V from.
Correct. An arbitrary, made-up place that does not contain gas. But we'll take that arbitrary line that doesn't exist and say that's the V. Why? Well, because it's what we've decided we're going to calculate it with today. That's the amount of space. Well, what about the containment that you'd actually require to have the gas in that space? Well, we're talking about atmosphere here, air-shaped that's sphere-shaped. So therefore, we'll just arbitrarily assign it as V. You don't actually have to have containment for the gas for us to calculate it, now do we? Because maths is abstract. So of course they can arbitrarily assign a V. Doesn't mean it's real.
But hold on. There's actually something else that this Kármán line, even past the Kármán line, even their own rhetoric, gas is still escaping. The question is, what's replenishing that gas that's escaping? What's replenishing it? If we still have gas pressure, there's got to be something, even in their own rhetoric, that's maintaining the gas pressure.
Oh, it gets worse, Paul.
Right?
It would have never developed in the first place.
Especially if you think about it, if that Thea hit into Earth, where do you think there would be any gas pressure left?
It's a good part because we had it in this show. But exactly, if you want to take it from the origin story, so we've got Thea smashing into Earth at a glancing blow, and gravitational accretion forming the moon, and then we've got Earth. So how does gas pressure develop? It's in a vacuum, right? But at this point, there's no atmosphere being begged. So it's just a rock in a vacuum. What happens when a gas particle comes out of the molten iron core? Does it come out of the surface, go up and then decide to burn its bra at the Kármán line? Well, I'll just stay here. No, gas just expands in all directions until it hits something. So it's just going to expand into the vacuum and never return. So it would never develop gas pressure, it being a claim to be spherical Earth in a reified model. That model would never develop gas pressure. That model is sphere Earth. We don't live on a sphere in a vacuum. We wouldn't be breathing. We'd all be dead. The gas would fill the space.
Of course, the gas just wants to be gangster and not act like gas.
Well, that explains the air bubbles that NASA shows then.
Sorry, but what happens to gas when it gets heated up?
Goes faster.
And what happens to pressure when it goes faster?
Increases.
So wouldn't that invalidate their claim of a vacuum?
Well, they have gas reaching a thermosphere, don't they?
Yeah.
Thermosphere.
Yeah. Of course they're going to beg the question of a sphere. Chocolate goes without saying.
That's awesome.
And what happens when the gas molecules hit other gas molecules?
They just smash into them. They just don't lose any energy. It's called elastic collisions. Is that where you're driving with this? I've lost track of where you're going now. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. So
Blastoid.
it gives energy to the other molecules it hits into because it's elastic collisions, correct?
No, it doesn't give energy to the other. No, net
Temperature
increase.
a little bit, but for the purposes of, in terms of motion, then they're elastic and they go off. Particularly if they're all in the same temperature zone and their temperature's already equilibrated, so you've just got a straightforward elastic collision, haven't you?
So it doesn't let off any energy there, not even a smudge.
As long as well, there's some temperature sharing within the domain, isn't there, and equalization over time. But fundamentally, when you're just talking about their vectors they're traveling on, which is the important thing, from their last collision. So you get to that last collision point, don't you, where suddenly they're in a space where they've been sent in a direction, and in a forming Earth, this is, as Nathan's saying, is going to be a lot lower. You've not got a thermosphere that's been generated yet. So you've just got that first one that's released. Now off it goes. It's got no collision. So it's got nothing to share with, nothing to concern about, just the vector it's set off on, which is unfortunately is away from the center of gravity. Off it goes. What's to stop it? When's it ever coming back after they made it?
Nothing. It would never develop pressure, so we'd never have gas pressure in the heliocentric model. If we were on a sphere in a vacuum, we wouldn't have gas pressure.
Yeah, but that's my point. If it was like that and the gas expands in all directions because of the thermosphere, then it would be pushing that pressure back down to us and we wouldn't have pressure gradients. It would just be no pressure at all because it'd be equalized in all directions.
No, it's got to go up there, and some of them, like Rogue, Chocolate said, have got to go rogue and say, no, we're not doing nothing. We're forming the thermosphere. Yeah? That's what they've got to do for then that to can have any form of, it's nonsense. It's not following gas law, is it? That's rogue gas particles going off and forming a gang.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the story. It's the story of the rebellious gas particle that gets to the thermosphere or gets to the Kármán line and says, you know what? This natural law malarkey is not for me. And this bra I'm wearing represents natural law, so I'm going to burn it right here. I'm going to have a few cakes and then fall back down, go boom boom.
You're missing the rhetoric. Don't forget, they put on weight.
That's what I said. Ate a few
Yeah,
cakes.
gravity.
No, I did say that. I said ate a few cakes and then fall down, go boom boom.
They said gravity is the container and Earth is the sphere. That's why you have gradients. That's what was said on your comments. Don't you read them, Nathan?
Yeah, and when we get into the argument with someone who makes that sort of comment verbally, we say, okay, let's have an example. We've got a puddle. Is the gas going down, go boom boom? Well, no, they have to justify why it goes up. So it's not using any gravity of down, go boom boom, 9.8 meters per second squared. It's going up. Forming clouds in a dynamic system, only achievable in a contained system.
I agree.
But to summarise, outer space is fake. You cannot have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. And what do you know? They claim the sky is called space. So space would be a space for gas to fill, and gas would fill it. It's what it does. It fills the availability of volume, and space would be a volume. So the sky is not a sky vacuum. Space is fake.
So then how are we breathing?
There must be containment.
But hold on a second, because I may be, I'm a contractor. I'm not that smart. But the other day they just sent a rover called Perseverance to Mars with a helicopter.
And Neil, they also have dust devils there with no atmosphere, so that's not very possible. So it's just a stage.
After that long speech, Flat Sword, come on. No, if you're going to claim that you have launched a vessel from the ground through the air and into a vacuum, then the gas we breathe, which expands at high velocity in all directions, would also enter that space. We'd all be dead, Neil. If they were travelling to Mars through a sky vacuum, we'd be dead. We wouldn't have any gas. The gas would expand into the space also.
Gas is produced at ground level. Maybe it's constantly producing, and we're breathing and it's going, and we're breathing and it's going, and it's just a constant thing. So maybe that's why we're not dead.
Neil, what would happen if you had to breathe in and out and take a vacuum and stick it to your mouth?
I don't want to find out. That sounds scary.
So it sounds
high pressure
like
to low pressure.
it sounds like in their model, rockets aren't stopped at the Kármán line.
Not for nothing, there's a coworker at my job, like, I speak to her about this. She kind of thinks it works like there's a constant upward motion of gas
That's what I'm
coming
saying.
from the earth that's just refilling the atmosphere as the air, escapes this open system. I mean, that's how she thinks it works. And
But that's not how you were taught it.
But then where does the
It's
pressure
cyclical.
come in?
That's not how it's taught to work, and not how we see it observably working. It's cyclical. We see, for example, the water cycle. It goes round and round and round. It's not constantly producing more water for it to dissipate into the volume available to it, which would be space, and then producing more. That is definitely not what's occurring. It's going around in a cycle.
Yeah, everything points to containment. That's a fact.
Sorry, what?
I mean, I get that, but that's her explanation of how it would happen without containment.
Yeah, but
Well, that's nonsense trench level rhetoric made up by somebody who just needs to produce an ad hoc explanation for something that isn't part of their model and wouldn't occur, and we don't experience in nature. Observably not occurring, just look at the clouds. With that, I'll say if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!